You're listening to Geeksterilia's podcast.
Hey there! How's it going, Geeksters? Welcome to Geeksterilia's podcast, your favorite podcast about sci-fi, fantasy TV shows, movies, and literature, as well as pop culture in general. My name is Cecilia, and today is a special day because we are talking The Expanse. Once again, we have a golden guest, the Steven Stark.
So who'd you get? Who's the golden guest?
I don't know. Do you know?
No, I wish I did. I can't wait for them to show up.
I don't know. It's West Chatham, maybe. I'm just kidding.
Man. Well,
I'm just kidding.
I'm just Amos thirst.
It's the golden guest is some beard right there.
Hi everyone.
How are you, Steven?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm a little rushed because I had some technical issues right before we started, but here we are. And incredibly enough, just in time.
It all come together.
Yeah, so welcome everybody. And well, today there will be spoilers right from the start. If you guys haven't watched The Expanse yet, you should. First of all, you should. Please note that we have not been offered a single penny for talking about The Expanse. We wish. So yes, this is an honest opinion. This is a completely 100% honest opinion about what we think about this series. So yeah, you should watch The Expanse in case you haven't. And if you still wish to join us despite the spoilers, we welcome. And if you don't, you may watch the first part of these videos where we spoke about the first 3 seasons, because that one does have a spoiler-free intro, so you know what's it about. Okay, so The Expanse season 4 and 5. What do you think about those 2 seasons?
Season 3 is my personal favorite.
Mine too.
But 4 and 5 were not what I expected given the seasons before, and that might detract from them ever so slightly, in my opinion. That might be why they're not my favorites, because they're still fantastic. Mm-hmm. Even when the show, there's not a bad episode, there's not a bad character, there's not much less than not a bad season. There's not a single bad episode.
Yeah, I agree. Probably one of the most popular opinions about season 5 is that, season 4, is that is the weakest season of the whole series. And that may be true to some degree, but I think season 4 was necessary for what's to come in season 6.
Or really 5 as well. Because the events of season 4 drive a lot of the plot of season 5.
Mm-hmm.
People see that you can go through a ring, you can go to a planet, you can live there, you can mine resources, and you can bring those resources back to sell and market for a huge profit.
Yeah,
it's been done once, so now they know it can be done again, and that sets off that whole chain of events about people fighting to get through the ring now.
Yeah, because up till season 3, we still had the, I don't know if it's okay to call it that way, the supremacy of the Earth and Mars governments over the belt.
Mm-hmm.
But in season 4, now that we have the possibility to go to unexplored planets that are alike to Earth, well, let's just say that all the effort, all the drive that Martians had goes down the toilet, because now they say, why are we wasting so much resources and technology on this godforsaken planet when we can literally live in a planet with everything already? We don't have to.
Real atmosphere, real water, and you could just go outside and see the sky. Yeah, I get it. Mars isn't dying. Mars is dead.
Mm-hmm. So, and you know,
I'm sorry, what?
mm-hmm. And so is the belt. Well, up to a certain point, because the belters do have some weakness that we explore through the character of Naomi. I mean, in order to be able to live in a planet with an atmosphere and a 1G, they do have to take some drugs to gain the bone density.
Mm-hmm.
The bone density, and I don't know if they really have to exercise first in order to gain some muscles and strength.
I think they would. I think the big thing though is that the heart has to work so much harder,
Mm-hmm.
because when you're in 0G, when you stand up, your heart has to work very hard to pump blood back up from your legs.
Yeah.
In 0G, there's none of that. So, and I think that's what Naomi specifically was experiencing on Illis, was her heart just wasn't in condition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Maybe if she had a little more time to prepare herself for that, she would have done it. But I don't know if that was established. I don't remember that detail specifically. But was she having some heart issues beyond having to adjust to 1G, or like a heart condition? I don't remember that.
No, I don't think she was.
She just didn't have enough time to gain the strength, right?
Right. Well, and if you grow up without your heart having to work that hard,
Mm-hmm.
like there's a good chance as an adult you might not ever be able to. I don't know. I'm not a medical guy, but
Mm-hmm. Me either.
But
So,
like,
yeah.
how do you work out your
Mm-hmm.
heart?
I don't know. Maybe with cardio.
Yeah, I guess.
Uh-huh. Maybe with cardio. I don't know. I don't ever do exercise, so I don't really know. That's something that I wish I did more, but my will is not that strong as Naomi's heart, apparently.
Right.
But yeah.
She really did try. She tried very hard.
Yes, she did.
But they even said, some belters can, some can't.
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine that the younger you are, the easier it is, because you haven't had a whole life of growing this body and it building itself for a low G environment.
Mm-hmm. The one thing that I didn't really see, or I don't recall correctly, but did Alex take those drugs? Because I remember seeing Bobby struggle so much in 1G, despite that she has been trained in 1G for, I don't know, years. But when she was in the actual 1G of the Earth, she struggled. How come Alex didn't?
I think her main struggle was with the horizon.
Uh-huh.
Was with the she's never been outside before.
Mm-hmm.
At least not without her armor or a spacesuit. She's never been just walking
in open spaces.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of weird. I don't understand that phobia, because obviously I lived my whole life on Earth, and specifically in Juarez, where I live, there are no tall buildings at all, and the sky is wide open,
right,
for you to see. So yeah, I don't really understand that part.
Well, And Naomi had a very similar experience at the end of the first episode of season 4 when she
Mhm.
walks off the Rosie and she looks up at the sky and she falls over because her brain is not wired to level her with the horizon
Mhm.
because there is no horizon where she's from.
No, there's walls, only
Right.
walls. Okay, Danielle here asks, "What's the best part about watching The Expanse?"
That's a hard thing to answer. The best part, I think, is going to be is watching the relationships between the characters evolve.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's the best part of the show. Now,
Yeah.
there's a lot of other great parts that I also love. The plot is really interesting. They really get their science very, very right. And as somebody who is an engineer by training and has spent a lifetime of staying scientifically literate, I'm just very impressed with this show.
Yeah, that is actually something that we mentioned in the past video about The Expanse. And yeah, for me, that is exactly one of the reasons why it is so good. But also, well, it's very much Game of Thronesy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Game of Thrones in space, but I dare to say that it's a little bit better done than Game of Thrones itself. At least it's very well thought about. And one of the main reasons is that both writers of the books are very, very, very involved in the series.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a particular meticulous detail about the series. Another one is like you mentioned, the science of the sci-fi. It is very accurate to real science. Well, not 100%
It's not
accurate.
perfect.
It's not perfect, but it does pose some real issues in space and the real danger in space. For example, Daniel says that if we can give him an example of scientific.
I've got a couple for you.
Mhm.
First is their travel method, the flip and burn. So when we sent a spaceship to the moon,
Mhm.
we shot it up to orbit. It went around the Earth a few times till everything lined up correctly, and then they gave it a little bit of thrust, and then they just coasted.
Mhm.
And it took 4 days to get there. And then when they got close to the moon, they just applied a little bit of thrust to slow down enough to orbit the moon and then landed and reversed the process. It's
Mhm.
not how it's done in the Expanse. That's why, if you'll recall, we had 3 Mars missions get to Mars just a few weeks ago.
Mhm.
And it took 7 months to get there. Doesn't take 7 months in the Expanse, but that's because the Epstein drive, which is again one of their magical MacGuffins,
Mhm.
lets them thrust the whole way there. So they're constantly going faster and faster and faster, which is why their ships are built like a building, not like a traditional ship where the decks run parallel to the direction of motion. They're perpendicular
Mhm.
because of that constant thrust, and flip around and then decelerate the rest of the way there, so
Mhm.
that you arrive at basically 0 miles an hour or kph or however you want to put it. And that's hard, good science. Another one is people who get injured in space. Um,
Yeah.
their
In order
their
to heal,
wounds
you
don't
need
drain
gravity. Mhm.
right. You need gravity to heal for the like blood will just pool at the bleeding site,
Mhm.
and not drain from the wound. What are some other ones?
How they generate gravity through acceleration.
Through acceleration or rotational speed.
Mhm.
And just the way that they portray life aboard a ship where there's often no gravity. The way
Mhm.
that the ship is constructed to have plants on it to help recycle the air, to have everything built with a way to lock it down in place, because when you make a turn, everything would go flying off in a random direction.
Mhm. And for example, some of the well, they do have magnetic boots, so they are
They
able
do.
to walk on zero gravity. And another one, well, the pull of gravity, how much it damages your body.
Mm-hmm.
And without giving you a spoiler, Daniel, there you can actually die from it. One of the
Yes,
main
you can.
characters in season 5 died for because of that, because of gravity, of heavy G's. And
Yeah.
well, one of the things that I like the most, and it is actually one of the things that Ty and Wes Chatham have discussed in their own podcast, Ty and that guy. In the first episode of that podcast, they were comparing the influence that alien movies gave the
Mm-hmm.
Expanse. So they spoke about the real dangers of space, and they compared it to the dangers, for example, to being overseas, where everything that surrounds you is the sea and you have nowhere to go. And if there's a storm or something, you are in danger. If you run out of supplies, you are in danger. It is the same, right? It is the same here in the Expanse. Everything surrounding you is danger, and even in your perfect little environment inside your ship, you are in danger, because if you run out of oxygen, if you run out of food, or if you run out of fuel, you're dead. And they really put it that way. So and it's one of the things that I like compared to other stories in space, because sometimes that doesn't come up,
Right.
that real
The
danger.
Enterprise never ran out of food or air or fuel without it being the sort of magical MacGuffin of the thing that we have to overcome this week.
Mhm.
Oh no, the science thing in the science place did some non-science stuff, or the way they write their technobabble. But in the Expanse, they won't just say we're running low on fuel. That's not going to be resolved this episode. That's going to be an ongoing peril,
Mhm.
or the decisions that will be made so that you don't run out of fuel, so that you don't run low on food or water or air.
Yeah.
Um, I'm always going to go back to that scene of 52 people.
Mhm.
Some of those people had to die because there wasn't enough for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's an episode in season 2 for those who haven't watched the show.
Yeah,
And even in what?
I was just going to say, I thought we were going full spoilers, but I'm trying not to spoil anything right now.
Okay. Well,
That's why I only
one
said 52 people. Like, you'll know it when it happens, but dang, man.
okay. Well, in short, it is a great series. So yeah,
Okay,
you should really watch it. Mhm.
if you haven't seen it, let me just give you this. I've been an avid show watcher of lots of things my entire life. Loved Game of Thrones. Loved things like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is known for its really fantastic writing and character development and whatnot. The Expanse is trying really hard to be my favorite TV show of all time right now. Trying really hard. I think it might do it.
Mhm. um, Peter Ruin. I hope I'm not
That's
botching your
his
name.
name is Padar. His name is
Padar.
Padar.
Okay, Padar. He says, for me, the level of world building and the thought they have to put into societies, like how the Belters have use hands a lot because of working in life in space. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of politics in this series between the three big nations, which is the Earth as a whole, Mars, and the Belt, which are a bunch of stations throughout the belt asteroids and the moons of outer planets. And they have conflict. They have real political conflict, and it's very well portrayed, and the reasons why. It makes a lot of sense that the most marginalized society, which is the Belt, is the one that is the farthest to the only planet with where all the resources practically grow by themselves.
It's very much an allegory for colonialism. The Belters are the people that live in the colonial nation, and Earth and Mars are the powers that utilize their labor and to extract their resources. They use the belt labor to extract the belt's resources for the use of Earth and Mars.
Hmm. Hmm. Because that's actually the reason why they colonized those planets and those moons in the first place. But
Correct.
with their generations, they became their own nations, so and independent. But they still lack of those easy resources that the Earth has, and I don't know. Maybe that's pretty much the reason why they are the weakest up to a certain point. But in season 4, we see a little switch right there, and
We
it is
do.
and it is because of the opening of the rings, which are pretty much portals to other livable planets. And
Yeah.
of course, everybody is crazy to get there because it means jobs, it means a place to live, a permanent place to live, with resources similar to Earth. And it really balances power between these nations. But there are some advantages that obviously the Earthers have because of their physiology. Uh, that
You say that, and you're right,
Mhm,
but there are advantages that Belters have in the controlling of the ring space,
mhm,
the inside of the bubble. I mean, who is better to control that zero G transit space than the Belters who live their whole lives in zero G?
mhm,
Maybe they can't live on the planets, but they can certainly, and this is what Marco Inaros ends up doing, they can certainly control that space to
mhm,
control all the traffic in and out of every other system.
mhm. Which
So
is precisely what we are watching in season 4. Um, we see a little rebellion right there because, well, the conflict up to season 3, the war between these three nations ends with the opening of these rings. They ended up joining together, making peace, or I don't know how to say it, making peace, and they agree on watching the space around the ring, controlling who enters and who doesn't. And well, that power is in the hands of the belt.
yeah,
More specifically with the characters, two characters that we love.
Drummer and Ashford. God,
Yes.
I love them, both of them.
Yes.
I mean, Ashford is from where he came in on season 3 to where he leaves, where we last see him in the story. Like, he really is the same character the whole time, but we get to see enough different parts of him along the way that our relationship with him makes a 180-degree turn.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
like when he shows up, I just didn't trust him. Didn't trust him at all.
Hmm.
By the end of season 3, I'm like, okay, he's actually not that bad. And then
Hmm.
by the end of season 4, I'm like, I freaking love this guy with all of my heart. I loved him.
That is something that the Expanse does really well. You start hating a character, and suddenly you just end up loving that character because they show you a lot of sides from each character. No one, like Pedro says here, that there are no villains. There are no villains whatsoever. There is no bad people and good people. They all have their reasons to be the way they are, which is fantastic. And you can be empathetic with everybody. and you can understand why everybody thinks the way they do. And specifically with Ashford, they present this character as a pirate
Mm-hmm.
that joins this extremist side of the belt, which is the OPA, this extremist organization of the belt. And you, like you said, you just don't trust him. You always think that he just wants to take power of the of the ship that
And to be fair,
Mhm.
he does want to take power.
He
He
does.
does want to take control of the ship.
Yeah, he does. But he ends up, well, he does have a lot of I mean, he's right in a lot of the things that he says and the way he thinks. And that's where the conflict really starts. Because drummer has this attitude like, yes, I am in control of this ship. I am not going to take shit from anyone ever again. So of course I'm not going to be friendly with you. And then this guy ends up being right in a lot of things. And that's when you start to question whether this character is actually bad. And then you get to know him. And that scene where drummer and Ashford are trapped.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
good.
It's so good.
Because it gave them a reason to talk in a way where not only they could come to understand each other, we could understand each of them better as as fans of the show. Like, and again, I can't remember what his name is. Daniel asked about what's the best thing about watching The Expanse, and I said watching those relationships evolve. Huge moment right there when they're trapped together, of that relationship evolving and getting some of the backstory and all that for those characters.
Mm-hmm. And that's the real first time that you start to love him.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, he shows a side of him where he starts to sing the song that he sang to his daughter. And yeah, you start to connect with him. And they both drummer and Ashford start cultivating a relationship, a beautiful friendship, a beautiful relationship, that when the thing that happens, it really hurts.
Yeah, and you understand why it hurt her so much.
Yeah. So drummer is another character that I didn't care at first,
Okay.
but she really, really escalated up to the top 5.
Yeah, I guess that's about my journey with her as well. Because early on, I was a Christian guy. Then Amos crept into my number 1 spot. Christian is probably number 2. I don't know, though. After season 5, Naomi shot up to like probably number 3 at least, if not. But yeah, drummer's fantastic. I guess it's like Amos and then all the great female characters. You
Yeah.
can pick the order.
And
Because I got to get Bobby in there too.
Oh yeah, Bobby. I'm probably Christian, Amos, then Bobby, and then drummer and now Naomi. That's probably my top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amos and the Badass Ladies. Yeah.
Amos and the Badass Ladies. That sounds like a band.
It does. I would buy their album.
Yeah, I would buy their album too. Yeah. With Bobby, it was the same exactly the same journey. I hated her at first. I thought like she's just an arrogant soldier, and then you end up loving her. I don't know, that they do that a lot. I gotta say that they do that a lot. But yeah, well, season 4, it's a little bit different from the other seasons because we don't get a lot of time in space.
You're
It's the
right.
time where we spend the most. It's where we spend the most time on ground, on 1G.
Like at least half of the shots are on Illis.
Yes, on Ilus, aka for the Earth government as Earth 2 or the New Earth. Or I
New
don't.
Terra, at least
Yeah,
in the
New Terra.
English.
Yeah, Nova Terra, New Terra. I don't remember. And well, we see the politic conflict right there in our nose with the probably less than 50 people right there living there in that mysterious planet. We have a bunch of belters right there. There are scientists, and that they made their homes in this planet. And suddenly the Earthers come and pretty much try to take it away because humans. And yeah, the conflict starts, and of course, our little Space Jon Snow realizes that there's something weird in this planet and that we have to stop them from danger. We have to save these people because there's
Right.
something weird going on with the proto
But
molecule.
there is, but like even the situation on the planet, the conflict on the planet is not so cut and dry.
Hmm.
Because if you want to get legalistic about it, the Earthers that went there had a contract from the legitimate UN government.
Hmm.
The Belters that went there ran the blockade to get there.
Hmm.
And then before the Earthers even landed, they were attacked and they had their ship blown up. So like there is absolutely culpability on the Belters side. The problem really comes in the way that Murtry, and you're right, Leonardo, it is a very astute observation.
That's
The,
my
the
that's my husband right there.
oh, is it?
Yeah, Leo is my
Oh,
husband.
okay.
Hmm.
Awesome. Hi, Leo. But the real problem comes in when Murtry tries to apply collective punishment
Hmm.
for individual crimes.
Hmm. Yeah, and once again, there are no villains. You understand why they do what they do. I mean, this guy, the so-called villain of the story of season 4, he's an ambitious guy that really wants to take control. He probably didn't have any control on Earth, any power, and he does, and he just takes advantage of it. And like you said, he punished a group of people for something that a few did. And this is what causes the main conflict of season 4. This, and that there was protomolecule in this planet that got activated and everyone was in danger. So the mission of our beloved James Holden is to find out what is going on and try to keep everyone from dying from in the cause of the protomolecule.
Right.
Leo right here pointed out very accurately that the protomolecule is pretty much the White Walkers, that threat that you don't really understand.
Mm-hmm.
And
That can be coming at any time and it will kill us all.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. And of course, well, we explore human relationships here. We see a side of, well, we start to understand a lot of Naomi's behavior in season 4, in the beginning of season 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because first of all, she's a Belter and she understands the struggle of the Belters and she always sides with them. And of course, in this planet, in Elos, she sides with the Belters that live there. And she tries to save this one person, which is the one that caused the conflict in the first place. And well, she connects with her through their, I don't want to say failed, but failed motherhoods, because well, this person, this character, she didn't. I don't remember her name. Um, the
Oh
one
God,
that caused the one that
I think
caused
you're talking about
yeah. Well, the one that caused the attack on the Arthurs.
Potter will know her name.
Yeah. Well,
He is
let's
he's
wait.
one of my regulars,
Uh-huh.
biggest Expanse fan I know. Like he most of the people that came to my channel came from the Game of Thrones community.
Mhm.
Potter showed up when we started doing Expanse content, and he's been a regular ever since. Good buddy of mine, plays in one of my D&D games.
Good.
But he'll know.
Welcome. Well, let's hope she comments the name of this character. Well, this character is a mom, and she is fighting for a home for her family, for herself and for her family, and she can't think of the. It's in the top of her head, but
Yeah.
well, it's the point is they connect.
They do.
Connect because Naomi is a failed mother who had to abandon her son for very strong reasons, and pretty much abuse. It's pretty much
Right.
abuse, and this one mother is fighting for a place or a home for her family, and her daughter doesn't really want that for her because she wants to go to college on series, or I don't know which station, and they can connect with each other. Her name is Lucia.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like trying to Google it, but he beat me to it. Thanks, buddy. I knew you'd have it.
Thank you so much. And the fight, and also for the fight. Also, the fight is one point on their friendship, a strong point on the friendship. And well, we start understanding Naomi from here, because up to season 3 we see her do some erratic secret actions against the will of everybody else, or without
Mhm.
consulting anyone else, and you think like, why is she doing this? Why what is going on in her mind? And here you start to understand why, because you see, I mean, the conflict between the Belters and the Earthers and the Inners is talked about many times, but you don't really see it up to this point, up to season 4. You don't understand it. You don't see it firsthand up to season 4, which is where you see that who is trying to establish dominance over the others, and through a stronger government or a stronger political position. I don't know, but you see it, and you start to understand that it really is not fair.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's been actually pretty clear from the beginning. You know, the way that the Belters have been treated basically throughout the entire story. But you're right, it brings it much closer to home when it's Naomi talking about it, and especially as passionately as she does, because she's actually defending Belters against encroaching Inners who are trying to take their stuff from them again. So it just makes it so much more personal and emotional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and well, there's also something that Leo is saying here, that we should talk about Nancy Gao. He says he would have voted for her over Sarala, even though he loves Sarala, and believe me, he does love Sarala.
I mean, I do too, but I
Yeah.
think I might have also voted for Nancy Gao.
Yeah, I mean, the whole reason why she wins is because, well, the outer planets, the people of the outer planets, even Mars, have this conception of Earthers, that they are spoiled and that they have everything in their hands, and then that they basically are privileged. But when we see Bobby on Earth encounter some people from Earth in very precarious conditions, you start to understand that it really isn't okay for Earthers as well.
Yeah, for most of them.
Mm-hmm.
They barely get it to survive, and there's no path to bettering themselves.
Mm-hmm. So naturally, people is desperate for a job, for something to. First of all, for the money, and secondly, for something to do. And when this woman, Nancy Gao, promises jobs through the planets that are across the rings, obviously she gets the votes.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that Ava Sarala is right, because you don't know what's in there, and it's going to be dangerous.
Yes, and it's the biggest sort of like absolute failure on every front for Ava Sarala. Not only does she lose the election, she also kind of loses her husband.
Yeah.
And she sent Holden to go like figure out what the protomolecule is, what's going on with the protomolecule, destroy it if you can. If it gets dangerous, get everyone out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile on Earth, she's pushing this narrative of it's too dangerous, it's too dangerous, it's too dangerous. Holden goes there, stops the protomolecule. The Belters that went there get rich. And so he literally accomplishes the opposite of what she sent him there to do. She proves that it's not, Holden proves that it's not too dangerous. They were able to. And that probably pushes even more votes to Nancy Gao. So it really is just an absolute failure on every level for Ava Sarala, which is not what we're used to seeing from her.
Yeah, it was a shocker to see her that way, to be honest. But before elaborating, I want to thank Heather for her donation. Thank you so much.
Cheers,
it is
buddy.
very, very much appreciated. And if you want to do the same, you can also do it, and I will appreciate it very much. So yeah, actually, this is one of my least favorite seasons for her. Firstly, because I don't know, she curses a whole lot more in this season, and it doesn't feel natural. I mean, I'm a cursor. I don't speak prettily in my life, but it somehow felt unnatural for the character.
I agree, although it also gave us my favorite line of hers ever, which is, "Don't stick your dick in it. It's fucked enough already."
Yeah.
And that is my favorite Ava Sarala line of all time. So, yeah.
Yeah, so watching her fall down from grace that hard really hurt me. Because I have a lot of love for her. I mean, she's a powerful lady, but she's arrogant, and she knows it, and she even brags about it. And that's one of the reasons that, well, you may think that this would make her a hateable character, but no, actually it actually does the opposite.
It humanizes her a great deal.
It humanizes her. Thank you so much, Steven. Thank you so much, Steven. And yeah, it is now a competition. Yeah, but her motivations are good, and she's deep down she's a good person, because otherwise she wouldn't care. She wouldn't have saved the Earth like that many times that she has. I mean, and it's all because of her decisions and her intelligence.
But like, it's such a great way to, because she's been built up so much over the previous 3 seasons. She's right about everything. So we need to see her like I say, it humanizes her, and it also lets her go through season 5 with a different, even more mature view than she had before, which is really necessary given the situation that
Yeah.
developed throughout season 5. So
Yeah. I think
I
at this point
agree.
we can speak spoilers. Don't worry.
Right, but
Oh
like
yeah.
I mean, I understand that like it's very painful to watch her in season 4
Mhm.
head downhill so sharply. But yeah, at least it's a great way to develop that character though, because
Yeah.
yeah, her season 5 arc is great.
Yes. Yes, it is because well, a character like her is very easily. It could be very easily perceived as an almighty character,
Hmm.
an untouchable character, and in season 4 you realize that she is not. She does she doesn't know at all because it is very clear from season 1 that she didn't fight for her position. She was she was given that position due to her privilege.
Yes, but
And
she did retain it because of her ability. But you're right, she got it because of her, you're right, political heritage.
Mhm. And I don't remember which season she mentions that somebody asks her why she didn't run for the big
Hmm.
for the president um job, and she says that it is because she wants to get shit done.
And she
I
likes
mean,
keeping her head attached to her neck.
yes, and also that, and also, well, what she doesn't mention is that she didn't have to run. She didn't have to have an election for this because
Hmm.
she knows that she may not be as charismatic as someone that can actually win an election. But then in season 4, she is in this position where she has to run for office, and she has to get in an election, and she has to get votes, and she just can't get them because she's not that charismatic. I mean, we all love her, but I imagine that being with her, with a person like her, or treat with a real person like her, it won't be as pretty as we see it from the outside.
Agreed.
Mhm.
Like, she does a lot of things right, but public speaking might not be one of them.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And it's all because she's very transparent and she's very direct.
Hmm.
And in politics, you really do have to disguise what your intentions
Right, but she's
are.
used to just saying things and having them happen
Hmm.
because she's always been in that position.
Hmm.
And like you say, she's never had to work to get her. I mean, she obviously kept her job because she's so good at it,
Hmm.
but she never had to apply, and she never had to like convince everyone to keep her there. She only had to
Hmm.
convince the people at the top to keep her there.
Hmm. Yeah. So when we see her fall from grace, now we see her in season 5 taking control pretty much from the ashes because, well, the Marco Inaro section attacked the Earth, and in that attack, the president dies, and there's no one else to do the job, and they put this character for a temporary position, but she at the end she ends up in power again, and she does all the right things, and yeah, it's a good way to see her uh, get back in flight
Yeah.
once again. Hmm.
Well, and she has to cope with kind of being a political outsider again, at least in the early season. Then, then even when the transportation secretary or whatever takes over, and she does her best to help him. But then when he approves a strike on Palace Station. I don't think season 2, season 3 of Sarala would have just resigned, would have walked
Mhm.
away. I think she would have tried to continue to change things from the inside.
Mhm.
But season 5, she's learned some things, especially from season 4, and she's just like, nope, I'm not having anything to do with this.
Mhm.
And it might have even been the admiral who resigned at the end of season 2, was it? Yes.
Mhm.
I can't think of his name, but he was an admiral, and he resigned and ended up going to the Jupiter fleet, and he gets
Yeah.
shot by Admiral Souther. Admiral
Mhm.
Souther resigned because he couldn't agree with her. And
Mhm.
then she found herself later in basically a
The
similar
same position.
situation.
Mhm.
Yeah, and she resigned like he did.
Yeah.
Not something I think she would have done before season 4.
No, no, her pride wouldn't have let her do that. And well, inevitably we see her take some humility lessons in season 4. She had to step back and watch from the outside, and that inevitably made her learn. So yeah, but well, I don't know about you. Going into a different topic, did you miss the Rosie these 2 seasons?
Did I miss who?
The Rosie, the
Oh,
Rosinante.
the you mean this lady right here?
Yeah,
Rocinante.
the Rosinante. I love that name of that ship.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Did I
Yeah.
miss it? I mean, a little bit, yes, I
Mhm.
did. But like, because with any ship of that type in your story, it
Mhm.
becomes a character in the story, like the Serenity did in Firefly, like the Millennium Falcon does throughout the Star Wars films. It becomes a character unto itself. And yes, I missed that for sure.
Mhm.
But like, it just makes us realize how much we want it more and more. So um, hopefully next season we'll get plenty of it, and
I
plenty
hope
of like the whole crew there with Bull.
yeah, with Bull, the new pilot. But the Peaches. Peaches
Yeah,
could also
and
be
Peaches too.
Peaches could also be the pilot, the new pilot. And I was
Oh,
discussing with my husband, with Leo, right there, uh, that she is actually a pretty good asset to the Rossi, because she can pilot. She can do. I mean, she can do mechanical things like Amos.
like she has an electrician's rating, yeah.
And she has super strength.
For short periods of time when she needs it, yes.
Yeah, yeah. It is awful for her right after, but when it's useful, it's useful. It's useful. And I don't know. Well, she's a good asset. She's a
Yeah,
good
it's going to
company.
be fun to have on board too,
Hmm.
just because of her unique point of view and her relationship with Holden from the past. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and I love the way that Amos pretty much introduced her into the Rosie.
Mhm. You remember when you and I had bad blood and we got over it? Great.
No,
This
you
should be
can
your
do that
problem
with
then.
her.
And then watch the woman that tried to frame you for terrorist attack.
And the face of Holden is just priceless. That is one of the things that I also love about this series is the comedy in it. I mean, it's not a comedy series.
But it's got a sense of humor.
It is not a comedy series at all, but it does have those moments, and those
Mhm.
moments are golden. Like for example, when when Holden and Naomi uh, make the announcement that they are in a relationship, and then they are all serious. Amos and Alex are all serious and like, yeah, okay. And then like they're like, you owe me.
Yep,
I
I knew
told
it.
you so. Yeah. It's beautiful. That
The best thing about that particular interaction between them is that the bet wasn't whether or not Naomi and Holden were together. It was when did it start. That's why they like, Naomi and I are together. Since when? And then after he tells them when, that's when they're like, you owe me now.
Mhm.
I love this crew so much. I really do. They're great. Like, Holden is my least favorite member on the crew, and he's fantastic.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, he's called Space Jon Snow, and I think Jon Snow is pretty uninteresting, self-insert white guy character. But like, I think Holden has a much. I mean, he's such a good guy still, but he's got his dark side.
Mhm. Mhm. And Holden is interesting. Holden may not be the most popular character, but he's the one that gets things done.
Right.
And inevitably, he really is a leader because he does worry about his crew, and
Yeah.
he really looks for the best for his crew. And that is one of the things that real leaders do. I mean, a good captain wouldn't just sacrifice people just for the sake of sacrificing people, like I forgot the name. Marco, like Marco Inaros would do. I mean, he actually worries, he actually cares. And he does. I mean, he does have a messiah complex, yes, because of the way that he was raised, like Leo here points out.
Yeah, he does want to be the great white savior.
Yes, he does. And that's probably why he is not the most popular character, but
he is genuine in his
Mhm.
caring.
Yes, like Jon Snow. Yeah, pretty much. And not to mention that the both actors really, really look alike. That's something
Yeah,
that.
one is only like, I think Stephen Strait is about a foot taller than Kit Harington, but
Yeah.
other than that, yeah, they got a similar coloration and
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. I do have some love for Holden. I mean,
So do I. He's fantastic. He's just not. He's like probably my least favorite member of the Rossi crew,
mhm.
but that doesn't mean he's not awesome.
Yes, yes, and that speaks a lot about
Mhm.
this crew. And speaking
Oh,
about the crew, we really have to address the character that we missed this last season. And it's a character that I truly will miss a lot. Alex.
oh yeah,
Alex Kamal.
yeah. I mean, for reasons that I won't go too deeply into, he was probably the character I related to the most.
Hmm.
As somebody who has not always had my kids living with me in my house and thing, like, and
Hmm.
the strained relationship that can be on parents to be sort of estranged from your significant other, and the way he feels about his failings as a father and a husband sometimes. I think it's very relatable to me. Not my proudest moments, but like
Hmm.
it really did speak to me and like that. So
Yeah,
I'm
and
gonna miss him too.
yeah, and now that you mentioned that, well, probably for his family, it won't. I mean, it's obviously not fun, but it really the way they portray that failure with his family is, like you said, is very relatable to many people, and that's what makes him lovable.
Hmm.
And well, we will miss him. And I don't know about you. I mean, I understand because of the situation that the actor was involved, the way that the character's exit was very it felt really rushed. It felt
Yeah, sudden.
unfair. it felt unfair. And I understand that maybe the actor refused to record some to film or record some further scenes. I don't know, because it obviously was an awkward situation for him, but it's still, the character still deserved more. And
I
it's
mean, yeah, but like I lay all of that blame at the feet of Cass Anvar, not the people that had to write something.
Mhm,
You know, like even if he would have come in to film something, like I don't know that I want to pay him for that.
mhm,
So I think they did the best they could with a really bad situation, which great writers will do that. They will take a bad situation and they will make something that's not terrible, because it could have been a lot worse. The dangers of high G space travel have been touted since the beginning of the series, and we've never actually seen it play out.
mhm,
We've never lost somebody to it.
mhm.
And and Amos says, you know, he died trying to save his family.
Mhm.
That's the that's how any of us would want to go. Like literally at the end of the season, they're literally all willing to sacrifice themselves to save all the rest. The
Yeah.
fact that one actually ended up did dying is, you know, it also it raises the stakes of the story. And he did go out doing his best to keep to save his family.
Yeah. And that's one heroic moment for the character.
Hmm.
But then again, I would have expected to see a little bit more drama among the other characters.
Mm,
That would have probably taken some reshoots.
yeah, it would have taken reshoots during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
which is not the easiest thing to do.
I know. Yeah.
And so he is digitally removed from some scenes at the very end of season 5.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that party scene where they're all sitting around on Luna,
Mm-hmm.
like Cass was in those scenes, but he was digitally removed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I'm gonna miss the character though, because I did love him. And one of the funny things is, I'm a native Texan,
Mm-hmm.
lived here most of my life. When I heard him talk, like, yeah, okay, he's got a very good Texas accent. I will
Mm-hmm.
give him that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
but
yeah. Like Leah points out here that, well, us being from the US Mexico border, we find Alex's music and bar preferences just hilarious. And that's one of the things that the character makes the character more likable, because
mhm.
it's just some I don't know, it feels a little tacky, but it feels a little weird. And
It's like that's his thing.
yeah, but one of the weird things here is that he's not, well, he's a Martian. He's never been in Texas. He's never been
Okay,
in.
but do you know why?
Why?
Because Mariner Valley, where he's from, was
Hmm.
colonized primarily by people from India.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember the third one, but India and Texas were the two big ones.
Okay.
So that's why he's an Indian that speaks with a Texas accent, because the English spoken there had a Texas accent, and English became the dominant language of
Uh-huh.
Mars.
Uh-huh. That's another thing that I find a little bit weird. I mean, I understand that because that's pretty much the norm here in the on the Earth, on actual Earth, is that
Mhm.
the international language, at least here in the Western Hemisphere, is English.
Sure.
Yeah, but uh, it's weird not to see many Asian characters actually speaking Chinese, because there's a huge part of the world that uses Chinese as the main language of communication, and it's actually it's probably wise to start learning Chinese right now.
I'm still working on my Spanish, so let me get caught up on that first.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know, but that's one of the things that one of those tiny little details from the Expanse that I find that are not that much believable, but yeah.
Yeah.
But they do have some new languages right there, which is the Beltaloda language.
Yeah. Delta Creole.
Hmm. I love that they have those. It's not very much established, like for example, Elvish in Lord of the Rings, or Valerian in Game of
Klingon.
Thrones, but it is there, and they say some words, and you somehow understand those words, even though they don't give you that much context. Like for example, Betaloda, which is the way that they refer to themselves, the Belters, or Inwaloda,
Inyaloda. Yeah.
the people from the inner planets, or the Baratna, which is pretty much like a comrade, or
Yeah. It
something.
comes from brother.
Hmm.
Or
And yeah, it's like a very rough language. It sounds rough. It sounds. It kind of sounds like Russian a little bit,
I
not in the
bet.
way that they pronounce, but in the like the strength or of the character of the language. Hmm.
Yeah.
And I love the
I don't
K.
know. It's really kind of crazy to listen to, and I love it. And Leo also points, or was it Leo?
The
Yeah,
body
it
language.
works because of the body language and the
Yeah.
hand signs. Like,
Hmm.
oh, I think you, that's how at the end of season 5, Naomi was able to send a message just by waving her arms around in space.
Hmm. Yeah, they're used to do that. Yes. Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting. And now that I saw the news that of this space hotel that they're going to build in, where was it, series or something? Uh, it it screams the Expanse to me.
Yeah, time to
I
get.
was like, this is happening.
Yeah, I'm going to put in my application for the Pure and Clean Water Company.
Uh-huh.
That's the company that owns the Canterbury. So
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna make some money right there.
yeah, I'm gonna go do some ice hauling.
Uh-huh. But yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, how I don't know the books. I haven't read the books. It's they are on my list.
Mine
But
too.
yeah, how it started, how the Expanse started. I mean, the series is called the Expanse because of the expanse of basically the colonization that humans made to the outer planets and later to the further planets beyond the ring. But yeah, how did it start? How did it start? I mean,
How did like the idea for the story start?
no, I mean, how did they get there? How
Oh,
the mhm.
you do see some, like looking back, um, it was basically like you might think it was until the development of the Epstein drive. So,
Mhm.
100 years in the future from now or something, Mars begins to be colonized, and because of maybe not even 100 years, but at some point in the future, we begin to send colonists to Mars, and because of the nature of that,
Mhm.
all the best scientists end up going to Mars, which is why Mars eventually becomes that technological powerhouse.
Mhm.
And it was really the development of the Epstein drive that let Mars go, okay, you know what? We are now independent, but in order for you to sort of like, in order for Earth to not go to war with us and we
Mhm.
don't have to fight for our independence, we'll share the Epstein drive with you. And that drove the colonization of the belt.
Mhm.
But that was like 137 years before the start of the series.
Yeah, but I mean, like what we are seeing now. I mean, that rover getting to Mars, the announcement of this hotel, the space hotel that they're going to build, and then it's going to be ready
Mm-hmm.
at 20 something. Um, I mean, what started what
Right.
gave them that the power to develop beyond, right? And well, another thing, going into another topic, Feathers has here mentions this, that the whole stories. Oh no, I wrong comment. This one, that it started as role playing, and yeah, that is something that actually Ty mentions in their podcast, that all the main characters are named after the characters that the role playing teammates developed.
Yep.
Yeah, and that
Right
was
down
his
to
way. I'm
right
sorry.
down to Shed.
Uh-huh.
Even Shed from season one
Mm-hmm.
was one of the characters. But as he points out in his next comment, that the person who played Shed in the role playing game
Mm-hmm.
had to move. So they're like, we got to get rid of Shed somehow. So
Mm-hmm.
just take his head off with a rail gun,
Yeah.
and it's perfect.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. That was something that I found really interesting, and they're really more than interesting, really funny, because um it was like their way to honor, or to to honor those people that helped them come up with the story. So it was cool. It was really cool to learn that. And
Yeah.
yeah, season 5. Well, pretty much season 4 is that struggle that they have in that for their planet, and the fall of Sarala, and
Yeah.
also the change of attitude from the Martians towards Mars.
Yeah, season 4 has basically 3 storylines, and they're all very sort of like one point to the next. One is on Illis, one is on Mars, and then one is the election of Sarala.
Mhm.
Um, and they're all 3 independently interesting, but there's no overlap with those characters really, and they kind of just march forward in each of their independent stories, regardless of what's going on in any of the others.
Mhm.
Season 5, it splits the characters up and sends them all over the place, but because of the nature of the events that are happening in the solar system, they're
Mhm.
all affected by things at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yes. And this is where we see the most of Marco,
Mm-hmm.
and where we learn his reasons, where we meet Naomi's son, and that he is not very uh it's not all lost with him. He still has some tiny little seed of love for his mother, and that's very much the conflict that he has with his father.
Yeah, but Marco is Marco,
Mhm.
and Philip is too young to understand how he's been being manipulated.
Mhm. Yeah, and one of the things that that was very was the most impactful for me from that relationship between father and son is that the way that he belittled him to manipulate him, because he Marco feels something from Philip. I mean, he feels threatened by him. That's why he always acts like he's disappointed from him, that he's an idiot, that he's not enough, that he's not a good
Mm.
leader, that he's stupid. Basically, he makes him feel less than he really is. So when Naomi came up and he was confronted with the woman that abandoned him for whatever reasons, he obviously he obviously sides with his father because he's the one that he's been with him his whole life. But there is still something there,
Yeah.
which Marco sees as a weakness, or at least he wants him to think that it's a weakness. But that's pretty much one of the things that made Naomi's character grow so much in this season.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I really loved season 5. Like I say, season 3 is probably still my favorite, but man, season 5 tried real hard to take that number 1 spot away. Um, Amos and Peaches together, and then everything Naomi is doing, especially in the second half of season 5.
Hmm.
I mean, just uh, everything aboard the Chetsamoka, the booby trap ship, everything she goes through to trying to escape from Inaros and get to there, and then to stop the bomb and all of that stuff. It's just, and it shows how determined she is and how smart she is.
Yeah.
Just, which is why she moved up the ranks so much in season 5 for me. Like, she
Hmm.
just became a character that I couldn't get enough of.
Yeah. For those who haven't seen the show and still are with us, she's very much the Hermione Granger of this story.
Yeah, she's the smartest person in every room she walks into. Pretty
Yes,
much.
pretty much, and with good reason. I mean, I wouldn't have thought of the solution that she thought in order to save herself. I mean,
Right.
yes, it is a little bit unbelievable the leap that she took in order to get to the.
It is, but it's really not. Like, the
Mhm,
science on that is actually pretty good if
mhm,
you accept the fact that she has that hyper oxygenated blood that they set up earlier, and she
mhm,
can give herself a shot to have some more oxygen in her blood. If
mhm,
you can forgive that, pretty much everything else that happened was okay,
mhm,
scientifically speaking. Like, you're not going to freeze to death. You have to have air around you to freeze to death.
mhm. And you don't in space.
You don't
Um,
place.
yeah, well, she basically spaced herself, and but she takes an impulse in order to reach the Chesemoka. Is that the name of the? Yeah,
Yeah.
and she ends up getting there alive without a suit. And well, when we see her there get there, she gets there in a very bad state.
Yeah. Like, she does get burns on her face from the exposure to the sun, and
Mhm,
she's got blood vessels bursting in her eyes from the low pressure. Um, yeah, she's in bad shape, but there's been actual. I can't remember if it was, I think it was a Russian cosmonaut at some point accidentally got exposed to actual vacuum of space for
mhm,
a few seconds. And so they at least took that opportunity to study the effects on him once it had already accidentally happened.
mhm,
But my understanding is that that leap is actually pretty accurate if you can get over the hyperox. I've got
mhm,
oxygen that I can shoot into my bloodstream,
mhm.
so she can stay conscious for twice as long, basically.
Yeah, but
Because you can't hold your breath either.
mhm. But beyond that, what happens in that ship, it's pretty amazing. I mean, all the trials and errors that she does in order to try to get the communication, in order to communicate with everyone else, to try to avoid that they go there and save her, because the ship is basically a bomb. And I mean, the way that she came up with modifying that message, because she couldn't send the message herself, that was pretty clever, and I didn't understand it until I heard it. Because I
Yeah, I
remember
didn't either.
because I remember thinking, why is she doing this? Why is she so persistent? What the hell is she doing? I don't know.
And one of the things and they don't really say it out loud, but before she actually starts doing that, she finds this little plate on the side of the door and she reads off the numbers to know how much air is in the ship,
Mm-hmm.
how much she's going to lose each time she opens and closes the door.
Mm-hmm.
And so how many times can she do it? And then she starts keeping the scratch marks
Mm-hmm.
because she knows she can only do it X number of times. And every time she comes out, there's a little bit less air for her to replenish with as well. So
Yeah. And one of the things that we thought was, I mean, is why is she talking? She's wasting more oxygen. That's pretty stupid. But then you understand why she does that. It's because she's trying to memorize the message, the
Mhm.
original message, and so she can modify that. So she can mute some words in order to modify the message, the original message, which is that she was in this ship and she was not in control. But she modified it to say that she was in the ship, but she was in control, and that was what everybody said. This is weird. Okay, this is weird. How the hell did the message get modified? Something is going on. We have to get her. And of course, the only possible way was for Bobby to save her.
Right.
Yeah, because and any other ship would have had get the Chesapeake exploding.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But she had her armor and could go get her, without the Razorback or the Screaming Firehawk getting too close.
Hmm.
And what a brilliant way they shot that too, because it's about Naomi hanging there in space, and she basically kind of goes unconscious, and then you hear, Bobby bump into her, and the camera doesn't change. You never don't see Bobby, but you hear that muffled speaking through the helmet and the rush of air as she attaches like an air sharing tube.
Hmm.
And with that starlit background, it's just beautiful the way they pulled that off.
Hmm. Yeah, it was a beautiful scene because, I mean, you can see Naomi's face and you can see her desperation. You can see that she already gave up and that she thought that everything was lost basically because, I mean, she probably thought that, okay, I'm dead, but that wasn't what hurt her the most. Uh, I think that probably her biggest fear was that the Rosinante or the Razorback got too close and make the ship explode and everybody died.
And kill them, right? Again, she was ready to lay down her own life to protect her family, the way Holden was doing, the way Alex was doing, all of that.
Yeah. Lady Leaf points out something interesting here. I looked it up a few years ago because of a movie. You can survive space longer than I would have thought. Basically, you suffocate before anything else can kill you.
Yeah, but you also can't hold your breath.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll notice, like, when Naomi makes that jump, she exhales all the breath out of her lungs.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you hold your breath, it's going to be like, things expand. Pressure causes things to expand. And if you've got lungs full of air and then all of a sudden there's no air pressure on the outside pushing back in, your lungs will basically
Explode.
pop like balloons.
Yeah.
And you can hold your breath for a long time, but if you blow out all your air and try to not breathe in, you're not going to make it 20 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Why she had to have that shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shot could be pretty useful right now. But yeah, I mean, season 5 was a hell of a ride, and I kind of missed having all the Rocinante crew together. But again, well, what everybody was doing was very important. I mean, what Holden was doing back in Tycho Station was pretty huge. I mean, the death of I mean, that death.
Yeah, that death.
That death. Oh my god.
Yeah,
That
I
was
didn't see
pretty
it coming.
shocking. Uh-huh. I mean, there were like 3 major deaths this season. One of them was Ashford's, or was it
No, Ashford was at the end of season
at the
4.
end of season 4? Yes, but well, still the major impact was in season 5
Mm-hmm.
when Drummer found out and found out that it was because of Marco Inaros, and when she had to face him and swallow all the bullshit in order to save the crew from dying
Yeah,
from for treason. And man,
it's
Fred
just it's
Johnson.
all so good, and like you say, season 5 separates everybody.
Mhm,
Everybody's doing their own thing, but like you understand why they're each in their own place doing their thing. They have personal unresolved business on
mhm,
Earth, at Palace Station, on Mars, and Holden's like, he doesn't have the opportunity to go with any of them because somebody has to stay with the Rossi while it gets refitted and repaired and all of that.
mhm,
So it makes sense from a story standpoint, and they took the time to establish that these characters had these pasts.
mhm,
So it didn't feel weird when Alex was like, "I gotta go to Mars and talk to my wife and kid." It
mhm.
didn't feel weird when Naomi's like, "I've got to go find Philip,"
Yeah.
or when Amos is like, "I've got to go back to Baltimore to settle some, something," because
Mhm.
we have seen glimpses of his past, not much,
Not
up to
much,
this
but you
point.
understand a lot from
Right.
those. Yeah, and well, Amos is no secret that is one of our favorite characters.
Yeah,
We love Amos
we
with all
love
our
Amos.
hearts. He's like I don't know, a gentle monster, I would say. I don't know.
His nickname is Murder Snuggles.
Murder Snuggles, yes. Murder Snuggles. He's a guy that can totally go berserk and kill you if you give him reasons. But if you give him good reasons, he will protect you with his life. He's as lovable as that.
Hmm.
He's probably his best quote ever up till season 5 is the "You're not that guy, I am."
Right.
We Everybody saw that coming, but everybody, I mean, lost it when he actually said it.
Yeah,
Back in
like in
Mhm,
that situation, it was maybe the most obvious line ever written, but nobody cares because we want him to be that guy.
mhm.
What Wes Chatham delivers it so just genuinely, and that look on his face, and Strickland's got it coming, but like, yeah, we're glad you're that guy.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. And now in season 5, we understand a bit about
Mhm.
him and why he is the way he is,
Yeah,
and all those.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Can I just say, season 5 introduced a lot of new characters,
Mhm,
and they were all fantastic. There was Bull, there was Sin and Corral,
mhm,
who interacted with Naomi a lot. Um, but Eric, Amos's childhood friend,
mhm,
was just a brilliant character. I loved that character.
mhm,
I could have taken twice as many scenes with that guy. The way he talked and he had swagger. He
mhm,
had he was in control of every situation. He knew how to give orders. He knew how to say yes. He knew how to say no. Um, and it's just I loved that character. Thought he was a fantastic addition. And the fact that they went out and got an actor who had that same physical condition, that actor has no hand,
mhm,
not a prosthetic or CGI or anything. That's just how the guy looks. And it's not a central point of his character either. Like
mhm.
his differentness is not the main thrust of what that character is about.
No, but it does give him a lot of strength
Mm-hmm.
because, well, he's basically a gang, a gangster leader.
Yeah, yeah.
A
He used
gangster
to
leader.
be a hacker,
Yes,
basically.
yes, but he's now in control of this mafia in Baltimore, and it makes you wonder how a guy like that, that looks weak. I mean, quote unquote, that quote unquote looks weak because he's not what we expect from.
Right. He ain't no Amos.
He ain't no Amos. Exactly. You would expect that a leader of a mafia in a big city would look like Amos, or would look like a, I don't know, a tough guy. But he's basically the contrary, and that is wonderful about it. That is pretty wonderful. Oh, Amy, don't worry. Many thanks for your contribution. Thank you so much. Welcome. And yeah, that adds a lot up to the character, and it makes you wonder how he got to where he is. And that is because he's incredibly smart and he's incredibly charismatic with his people. I don't know. He's a
And he's
leader.
also ruthless.
Yes. And
Like that scene where they're trying to steal the ship to get off of the planet, and some of the workers from around the island walk up and they're like, "We heard you have food." And he's like, "We don't, so fuck off." It's just the way he delivered that line. Oh, it's just like it's so funny to me.
uh-huh.
I loved Eric this season. Like, I'm gonna miss if he's not in season 6. I'm gonna miss him. But like, fair play to that actor. Just he got to have a really interesting character. And let's face it, a character or an actor with that kind of impairment is not going to get to play a badass gangster too often. So I bet
Mhm.
he had a blast.
Yeah, yeah. And through him, we know a little more about Amos' childhood, and also through the husband or something, that
Mm-hmm.
couple of the mother, quote unquote
Yeah,
mother.
Lydia's husband.
Lydia's husband, which she was like a mother figure to Amos, even though Amos did have a mother, but it pretty much wasn't in the picture. And yeah, we understand that Amos was an abused child. He was um, prostituted. That's what I
Yeah,
understood.
yeah.
And
While he was a young child.
well, he was a young child, and when he got old enough, they simply discarded him.
No,
And
when he got old enough, they started using him as muscle.
okay, yeah. hmm And yeah, that makes you understand why he is so defensive sometimes, and why he can go berserk and lose control of himself very easily. And yeah, it's tough to learn that about him, but he did give a tiny little hint, because he's very fond of brothels, because that's the place where he feels comfortable.
It's where he grew up. It's home
It's
for
where he
him
grew up,
almost.
and that's where it feels like home for him. And that's pretty weird, because I don't know, you're not used to love a character like that. Maybe you are used to love characters that are tough, yes, or that are ruthless. I don't know, but someone who has a past like that, and that is still so lovable, or he that still does all the good choices that any good people would do.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. And my husband once mentioned that Amos is actually the best character, basically the best moral character, because even though he doesn't understand many moral situations, He's the one that is more aware of his faults, of his issues, and
Yeah,
he tries to and he tries his best to be the best, right?
yeah, and he can recognize good morality because he can look at somebody like Naomi or Holden or Anna or Prax, all of these people that have influenced him along the way, and he can say like, I will follow you, and I will do the things that you say, and I'll take your lead because
Hmm.
I trust that you're going to make good decisions. Because he doesn't trust himself to make those good decisions,
Hmm.
but he can still tell what they are
Yeah.
because and even in season 5 we see that illustrated when he and Clarissa
Hmm.
take down that crazy doomsday prepper guy
Oh yeah.
because that their plan was to kill the guy
Hmm.
no matter what. Now he turned out to be an asshole, so great, it's a lot less difficult. But the conversation they have after was like Holden would never have approved that plan, and he
Yeah.
knows.
Hmm. And that interaction between those two characters was really cool to see, because in past seasons Amos was usually drawn to the most moral, uh I don't know how to put it, to the best person in the room.
Mm-hmm.
He was drawn to the best person in the room because it was that person would be enigmatic for him, and he would try to understand their actions and why they think the way, why they take the decisions that they take, why are they good, like trying to learn from them. And now we see him with Clarissa, with Peaches, who is someone that is also very, very morally questionable. And they take that decision, that and that scene that you mentioned, that that
Mm-hmm.
they plan to kill this guy, this random guy that they don't know if he's good or he's bad. He turns out to be an asshole, like you said. But what if
They
he
would have killed
was?
him anyway.
Yeah, they would kill them anyway. And like you said, Holden would not approve of that plan, and they actually mention it, and that makes them think about what they are doing.
Yeah,
And
and you see that immediately with Peaches after
mhm,
that. Like she's trying to help everyone after that.
mhm,
Everyone.
yeah, I don't know. That scene was very was very illustrative about the nature of their characters,
Hmm.
and that's why I liked it very much. And also one of the things, uh, that what you mentioned, that Clarissa after that tried to help everyone else, made me chuckle a lot, because when they are actually in the ship, that Eric asks her why she was there, or what, how did she met how did she meet Holden, I mean Amos, and what did she do, and she was like, yeah, I was serving a lifetime sentence
For
because
multiple
of
murders.
for multiple murders. That contrast was
Hmm.
pretty big.
I also just love his line, and I think it
Mhm.
was like even recorded after they shot it. But in the big fight scene when they escape and he's got that line, and they run in and she's got the dead people all around her. He's like, I'm going to be a lot nicer to her from now on.
Yeah, like
Ah.
I believe that up to that point, no one took her seriously.
Hmm.
Everybody saw her like the Amos's girlfriend or something, even though
Right.
what there was nothing explicit there. Uh, but when they saw her kill all those people
With her bare
with
hands.
her bare hands, it was like, okay, okay, now I understand why she's with Amos, and maybe she could be useful. Hmm.
Yeah. She's awesome.
Yeah,
She's a
that.
great addition to the crew also. Like with the loss of Alex, but we're going to add Bull and Clarissa. or Peaches, I guess we'll just call her. Like, there's still not a Martian on the Rosie, and that's unfortunate. But like, it's still a diverse cast.
Mhm.
You know, we're not adding another white dude, and I'm all for that. And there's the dynamic that Holden and Bull built up throughout season 5, where they were often disagreeing with each other, but
Mhm.
still understood each other. And sometimes this one was right, and sometimes that one was right. And they had that really great push and pull. And then with Amos and Peaches and what they went through to build up their relationship, like, I can't wait to put them all together and see what season 6 does for us, because it's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, we finally have a Latino character in the Rosie. Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Finally.
also, I believe the actress who plays Clarissa Mao is an indigenous person from Canada.
No, she's actually part Philippine.
Okay, I'm thinking of somebody else then.
No, the one that is from a Native American, Native Canadian. Well, is drummer.
Is she? Okay.
Yeah, drummer. It is drummer. The one that you are thinking about is.
Okay. I guess you're right. I'm not gonna look it up, but I'll take your word for it. I knew it was
Yeah.
somebody bigger in the show, and it's been a while since I looked.
Yes, drummer. And well, now that you mentioned the absence of another white dude, the other day I was thinking that every female important character is not white, except for the
You do get Anna, and that's
except for Anna, but everybody else is not white.
there's not a white woman
No.
major character.
Nope.
You have a pretty significant recurring character in Anna.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're right though.
And speaking of Anna, she was a pretty cool character as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get her in season 4 or 5.
Yeah, I understand why.
Yeah, sure.
But
Like,
yeah.
she wants to just go home and be with her family. I get it.
Mhm. Yeah. After those decisions, questionable decisions that she had to take, because she wanted to see more of God's creation, as she mentioned. Oh yeah, Karaji is Jiwe.
Okay. I'm sorry for my lack of honed knowledge, Ms. G. If you're seeing this, I know you're probably watching and just not commenting because you don't want us to flood you with questions, but I apologize.
Yeah. And we have another ethnic character in among the females, which is Bobby. She's a
Mm-hmm.
Pacific Islander.
Mm-hmm.
The I think it's pretty fantastic. I'm just missing my Latina girl.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it, Like I say, Cecilia for the Rocinante.
Yeah. I could be an assistant engineer. I don't know, maybe. Or maybe took care of the plants. I don't know, but yeah, I'm missing a Latina girl. But now we have Bull,
Mm-hmm.
and he was pretty great. I think that like you mentioned, the dynamic that he had with Holden, that they weren't necessarily agreeance in everything, but they still respected each other,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that and I believe that the origin of that respect that they have for each other is Fred Johnson. Is the relationship that
Yeah,
they had with Fred Johnson.
because Fred trusted them both.
Mhm. Even though,
Holden never trusted Fred.
yeah,
Point.
I was about to mention that. And he had good reasons not to trust Fred.
Sure.
But likewise, I mean, Fred could have easily thought that Holden is just a guy with a messiah complex and
And an idiot.
idiot. Yes.
I saw a button. I pushed it. Jesus Christ, that's really how you go through life, isn't it? Oh man, it's just because he's holding. Oh, what's this do? Poke.
Yeah. I loved one scene with Holden where I don't know who told him that, but they said you just have to save everyone, right? And he was right about to do that, and then when he did, he realized that, and he was like, "Damn it!" I love the fact that he's now aware of that, and because somebody told him, "You don't have to save everyone. You just make a life with Naomi, and
I
mind
think
your
it
own
was
business."
Fred told him that.
I was Fred. And speaking of Fred, oh my god, that death was so. I mean, I didn't have a particular love for Fred Johnson, but that death actually did
Yeah, it
touch
hurt.
some, yeah, delicate fibers. I don't know. It did hurt because of what he represented. I mean, he was like a bond or a link between the inners and the outers. I mean, he was the perfect ally,
Mm-hmm.
and now he was killed. He was shot because of.
Well, yeah, he was symbolic of the cooperation with the Belters, which Marco just could not allow.
Mhm,
He could not allow that symbol to exist.
mhm. Oh my goodness, there's so much to talk about this
There really
season.
is.
Hmm. I mean, we haven't spoken about Drummer this season and the
We
conflict
also
that she.
haven't really talked about the breakaway Martian fleet.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
mean,
So take your pick. Drummer and the Polyam Belter fam.
yeah. Oh man, that was very subtle, but yet very evident, and I appreciate it. But that was not the most important thing. The most important thing was the conflict that she had because of this,
Yeah.
because that they became their family. They became her family, and because of this, she wasn't free to confront Marco Inaros.
Right.
She wanted to kill him. She wanted to, I don't know, do something because she was very angry about Ashford, about Naomi, and she had to swallow it all because she loved this group of people.
Yeah.
And that was really hard to see from her. And that scene where she locks herself and starts drinking is really strong.
Yeah. She said, and like that's the most pissed off that we see her in that season.
Mhm.
And she does say earlier in the series, "I only drink when I'm angry, not when I'm sad." So when she got real mad, yeah, she went and got drunk. Um, I will say, like, I really ended up enjoying the characters that made up her little faction
Mhm.
and her family. But to me, it was a little bit like we didn't know who they were last
Mhm.
season, and then in episode 1, she's married to them all, and I'm just like, that's a little bit fast for a relationship like that to develop, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to sweep that under the rug. Time passes, we don't know we didn't see everything about what was going on in her personal life, so I can forgive it. But
Yeah,
if
it
I
did felt.
if I was going to complain about anything about season 5, it would probably be that. But like, I also understand it's because Drummer in the show is actually about 4 or 5 different characters smashed together,
Mhm.
none of which have as big a part as our Drummer does in the show.
Mhm.
So just having different characters amalgamated into her means that they have to they have to set her up with different people's storylines.
Yeah. I mean, I felt it rushed and I felt it a little bit forced upon us, but not because of the polyam theme, but because they were new characters that were too big so suddenly. And
Right.
so, yeah, I did have a little bit of conflict with that particular thing.
But like, oh well, like
But
one thing where I can nitpick it, and then the rest of it's like it's so good.
yeah, I mean, there are a lot of huge things happening with the other characters that you can forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's Rummer, and when she finally decided to kill that woman that was Marco's ally. I don't know their name. I don't know her name.
Girl.
Yeah,
Girl. It's
when she finally confronts her and decides to take care of all the ships that were about to destroy the Rosie and help James. Yeah,
you're
it
the
was
only
huge.
person I know that calls him James.
It's the first time
Everybody
that I
else
call
is
him
Holden.
Holden. Yeah, it's weird, right?
But like
I
you
don't know
call
why I
him,
call him this, but yeah, it
like
feels a little
everybody
bit
calls
weird.
him Holden also, except Naomi, who calls him Jim.
Yeah, James Holden.
Yeah.
James, yes. But yeah, I think, well, there's a lot to talk about Marco, but I mean, he's a good villain.
He is a good villain because he has okay, I think some of his motivations are I want to be the greatest and I want people to be chanting my name in the streets.
Mhm.
Um, but but he achieves that through that through the avenue of being a radical and a reactionary and a terrorist. You know, he appeals to the downtrodden to get that. So
Mhm.
and having the desire to make a better life for your people is a noble cause.
Yes.
Just maybe don't kill millions of other people to do that.
Mhm.
You- which is what Potter has said so many times about there not being any true villains. Like, Inaros is about as close as maybe we get to a true villain.
Mm.
But even when he's doing these terrible things, you understand what has pushed Belters in general to that extreme.
Yeah. And like Amy says here, Marco's obsession with his son being his legacy is fucking tragic. Poor kid. We mentioned earlier that he's basically using his son to his advantage because, well, his motivations, or, well, not his motivations, the flag that he's waving that says, "Oh, the Belters are suffering because of these guys that
Mhm.
blah 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 blah." But the true motivation is what you said, that he wants to be a hero. He wants to be a great person,
Yeah,
and
he is like the anti Holden.
yeah.
Like he has a lot of the same qualities that Holden has, but instead of being selfless, he is selfish.
Mhm. Yeah, and he's using this cause for his advantage, for his
Hmm.
for power, and because he I truly believe that maybe he started with the right intentions and with the right in the right path, but something happened, and then he discovered that he had some power over people, and decided to use it for his advantage. And he grabbed this flag of a hero, of a right cause, and he is using that for his own personal uh, gain. Not exactly. I mean, yeah, sure, he might get something better for the Belters, but not really in the right way,
I don't think he will.
because in the end he would end up ruling, and he would be a tyrant. He would be a
Mhm.
dictator.
Yeah, he kills anybody in the belt already who doesn't agree with him.
seen somewhere. I've seen that somewhere. I've seen that somewhere. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there are really a lot of things to talk about the Expanse, but we have already reached almost 2 hours
We
of
have.
it.
Okay,
So,
so I do want to just mention before we go,
mhm,
Leo and Potter both mentioned Admiral Souther,
mhm,
who is the sort of the leader of the breakaway Martians.
mhm. Oh yeah.
Um, and it's just a really, and actually, I guess there's another admiral that they name drop at the end of season 5 that is the actual leader, but Souther is the high ranking one that we see. And that whole thing where they're working with Marco because he's going to be in control of the ring space and they need to pass through the ring space and to be guaranteed that nobody will come in behind them so that they can do their thing with the protomolecule stuff and build their Martian super, Mars inspired super society where the you, they take everything that Mars did and just like, okay, but you guys didn't do it hard enough. We're going to be even more Martian than Mars ever was.
Mhm,
More militarized. Like Laconia is a region in Greece which is home to Sparta, so is very much like inspired with this whole Spartan ideal of the absolute best warriors and soldiers that they can be.
mhm.
I'm really interested to see where that goes. I don't know that we're going to get a whole lot of that in season 6.
Yeah. I mean, the whole Mars thing is very. Uh, I don't know. The fact that this society is very bellic, very warlike, very militarized. Well, Wes Chatham mentioned it in his podcast that well, this is a society that is surrounded by their enemies. I mean, they have the belt on one side, that they have the earth on the other. They have they are the most advanced technologically, so they are not, and they are all driven by this cause that is, which up till the opening of the rings was to make Mars a livable environment. So you see the change of the drive for the Martians, because they simply lose interest of making Mars.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
and you can actually go all the way back to the first episode of the whole
mhm,
series, and this is going on
mhm,
because I'm pretty sure it was Sobater's people that gave the stealth tech to the belter that Christian had up on hooks in the first season.
mhm,
Sobater was selling this weapon technology to the belters so that
mhm,
he could get his hands on the protomolecule.
mhm,
Now, their plan changed when the ring gates opened and they made a new deal with Marco and
mhm,
whatnot. But even before that, they were trying to gain control of this stuff by using the belters because the belters were the ones that had access to places like Phoebe and could hide out in the belt more easily. And yeah,
mhm. So now, of course, it's very interesting to see what is going to happen in season 6, because, well, for that ending where we see
hmm
that ship getting destroyed or something, for some
disappearing.
ring destroyed, teleporting. We don't
So it's, if you won't, I can speak about how it's presented in the books. I haven't read the books, but I watched another YouTuber who has read the books and likes to do these super detailed breakdowns. Uh, Pete Peppers,
know.
if anyone is interested, does some really great Expanse content on YouTube. So go look him up if you want some more like detailed story stuff.
Hmm.
But and there has been mention. There was a single mention earlier in season 5 about ships just disappearing when they pass through the ring.
Hmm.
Not a lot, but a couple have just disappeared,
Hmm.
like gone in but not come out. And
Okay.
and that's what we're seeing happening. And it is meant to be like, what the hell is going on? We don't know. We don't understand.
Yeah, but I mean, the proto molecule is still out there, and the thing that destroyed those civilizations is also still out there.
Yeah, I believe they're called the unknown aggressors.
Hmm. So maybe we'll get to see a little bit more about that in season 6, because we know that season 6 is the last season of this series. So I believe that they should address this situation in season 6. Maybe, I don't know the plans, because, well, season 6 will be pretty much based on book 6 of the series, but there are 9 books already.
No, there's 8 right now. Book 9 is supposed to be out, I think, this fall or winter.
Mhm. So yeah, I don't know.
But
Maybe.
yeah, season 6 is going to be the last one for a while, though.
Mhm. I believe. I mean, I haven't read the books, but I believe that it is because they decided to stop at season 6 because there's a huge leap of
Yeah,
time.
yeah, I've heard it's like a 30-year jump or something like that.
Okay, yeah. So
So,
that's pretty much the
Old
reason.
Man Amos, I'm here for that too. I want to see Old Man Amos,
Oh
like
yeah.
like we saw Hugh Jackman in Logan. He's
Mhm.
all beaten down, but he's still tough and he can still get it. But like it's harder for him to get up in the morning. Yeah, give me that. Old Man Amos still out there kicking ass at 65 years old or whatever.
Everyone is up for that.
Yeah,
So we get to the end of this live. Steven, final thoughts?
go watch The Expanse. If you haven't, if you have, go watch it again.
Yeah.
And yeah, just it's the best sci-fi show I've ever seen. Like that's not in question. Might be the best show I've ever seen. I guess I'll know a little bit more when we get to the end of season 6.
Well, to be fair, it did steal my heart. I mean, Game of Thrones was my top one, my very top show.
Yeah,
But with that ending,
yeah.
I
It fell a little bit with the ending for me too.
yeah, it fell apart. So The Expanse came out, and oh my goodness, it's really good. I mean, I
Yeah,
have a lot of favorite shows. I watch a lot of TV. I watch a lot of content, but really, The Expanse gave me something that I was missing. Missing from past shows, from Game of Thrones, from I don't know, from many shows, even from Doctor Who, because I mean Doctor Who is completely something different, but um let's just say that with the past 2 doctors, the writing has not been the best, and uh, the show has lost some of its
yeah.
charm.
Sorry, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I highly recommend Doctor Who. But
Never
yeah,
heard of it. Never
but
heard of it.
those 2 couple doctors have been. I mean, Peter Capaldi is still one of my favorite doctors, if not the favorite. But the writing of the show really began to struggle with him, and in this last seasons with the new doctor. I mean, but yeah, it gave me that show gave me adventure. It gave me space. It gave me time traveling. All of the things that I love. But
But
yes,
there's not those deep, evolving relationships between a large, recurring group of characters. I mean,
no.
maybe some, but like you don't have like 6 or 7 really major main characters
Uh-huh.
and that are constantly evolving, and the relationships between them are constantly evolving.
Hmm. Yeah, the Expanse came and just gave me something that I was missing. That's all I'm gonna say for my final thoughts. Steven, thank you very much for joining me again. I know
Thank
that
you
it's
for.
maybe past your bedtime, but I
It was
really
past my bedtime before we started, but you said Expanse, and I said yes, please. Thank you for having me. Also, thank you for asking Chris about the banner during your interview with him. I watched it. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, that's cool.
Me and Chris go way back.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys haven't seen that, it's her last English podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Her interview with Chris from Smokescreen, who is writing a book. It's a great interview, by the way. Go check it out.
Thank you. And what's coming on your show?
Sunday, we're going to be talking about WandaVision, episodes 7 through 9. WandaVision wrapped up this morning. It's out now. You can watch the finale. And we're going to be discussing the end of it. Me and John and Nessie are going to be there, and our guest will be Hax Dogma, who has never been on the channel, but we're very excited to have a new guest join us for the first time. Yeah.
Great things happen when you have new guests.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, well, we come to the end of the show. Thank you all for watching, for your likes, for your support on the super chat, and I will tell you that this whole live season, this whole live will be available after, if you want to rewatch, or if you are watching later. Thank you so much. And this audio will also be available hours later on your favorite podcast provider platform. And well, thank you so much, and may the force be with you.